For the past 365 days of my life, I've been growth journaling every single day. And for the year before that, I was growth journaling on and off here and there, but for the last year I've done it consistently. The reason I say growth journaling is because I do a different kind of journaling. It's not the Dear Diary kind, and I'll share with you exactly where you can learn how I do that kind of journaling at the end of this video. But this video I want to dedicate to exactly how it's changed my life, because growth journaling has completely changed my life. And for those of you that are wondering why you should watch a video about why to journal and how it's changed my life, instead of watching a video about how to journal, let me explain exactly why. Change doesn't happen unless you've got a reason why. And I know that this video will give you a lot of reasons why you should start journaling. You may know that you should start journaling, but you haven't done it yet. The goal of this video is to give you so many reasons that it's impossible for you to come up with excuses why you shouldn't start journaling. So by the end of this video, you'll want to start journaling. You'll be itching to start journaling straight away. So I urge you to just focus in and stay with me till the end of this video. If you can't do that, then what can you do? Stick with me for the end of this video and harness all of these emotions, understand how journaling will change your life, and then at the end you'll learn exactly how to start journaling, and I'll show you exactly how at the end of this video. Growth journaling was with me at the very start of my journey when I was broke, I was depressed, I was anxious, and I had the worst procrastination problem you will ever imagine. And I clearly remember the very first time I tried growth journaling. I just jumped in my window and Yes, I did. I think I've actually got a clip of that. Roll that here. The main problem that I'm facing is that I don't know editing. And yeah, it's a skill that I could learn. I definitely could learn it, but it's just out of my zone of expertise. Also, this is how I get in my right, you ready? This is my window to my room. This is how I get in. I open the window. And I climb in every time. Just because it takes a little while to get around through the front way. And just to be completely transparent, that wasn't the first time I growth journaled, but it kind of shows you the kind of frame of mind I was in. To save just 10 seconds of my life, I would walk towards the back of the flats I was in and I would jump in the window just because I was too lazy to walk around the front like a normal person. Growth journaling was with me for the first time I meditated, and here's a clip of that. 10 minutes meditation. Just had pre-workouts, I'm a bit all over the place, but I'll try to calm my brain down. Let's go. 10 minutes starting. 10 minutes starting now. And it's been with me ever since, overcoming that procrastination, building solid habits in my life. And it's with me now when I earned my first 5 figures in a week. It's with me now when I've got over 80,000 subscribers. And it's with me now when I've got a beautiful girlfriend and a solid habit of exercising. And I don't say this to brag or anything like that. It's just something that I'm truly proud of. To make that transformation in 2 years, it's something that makes me really happy. And I'm not giving credit to myself for doing that. A lot of the benefit and a lot of the credit goes completely to journaling because it was with me every single step of the way. So in this video I want to detail a few different reasons how growth journaling completely revolutionized my life and how I truly believe that it's the biggest bang for buck habit you can ever implement in your life. I've tried hundreds of different techniques, habits, exercises from ancient philosophy to cutting edge science, and journaling is the one habit that you can do in just 5 minutes but have a complete life-changing experience from that short period of time. The very first benefit I very quickly started noticing when I started this growth journaling habit was every area of my life just started to get better. When most people try to focus, they think, right, how can I focus? And they sit down and they try and concentrate on the work in front of them. I think a more effective way of learning how to focus is to flip it on the other side. What's the opposite of focus? And the answer is distractions. So instead of trying to focus, you just remove distractions. And when you remove distractions, it's much easier to focus. But what's that got to do with journaling? Well, a lot of people try to improve their life by thinking, how can I improve my life? How can I make this area of my life better? I don't think that's the most effective way. I think you should flip it on its side. Instead of saying, what solution do I want to get to? You think, what problems am I having? And then you work to get rid of those problems. And growth journaling is the most effective tool I've ever found in order to solve the problems you're having in your life. That way, instead of trying to think, how can I improve my life? You just make your life less bad. And by doing that, your life gets better. I've used growth journaling on every single area of my life, from relationships to mindset to confidence to fitness. All of it. I've used the journaling exercises that, again, you'll learn about towards the end of this video, and I applied it to all areas of my life to come up with new, creative, innovative solutions that I've never thought of before. And by doing that, I noticed that problems started to disappear. Yes, new problems always come up in life, but when those old problems come, you get new problems that you're excited to solve, and you build momentum from solving the old problems that you can use towards the big problems, and it just gets so much more fun. The second benefit is you stop overthinking. Science has figured out that the thoughts you have today are 93% of the thoughts you had yesterday, which are 93% of the thoughts you had the day before. What that means is the thoughts you have today will be the same thoughts that you have many, many times in a row, which means the problems you have today, whether it's anxiety, procrastination, it's probably the same problem you were having a week ago, and that's probably the same problem that you were having a month ago. The reason that happens is because we're caught up in our mind. All of these thoughts are going on inside our mind, they're washing around, and we have the same thoughts again and again and again. What growth journaling does is it lets you document those thoughts, spill it out on paper, so you can then dissect your thought patterns, identify the good ones and insert more of them there, then identify the bad thought patterns you've got in your mind, and you can just very quickly remove them. So it stops you by overthinking, because instead of thinking the same thoughts again and again and again, and having more thoughts in your day as more and more problems come, it lets you document your thoughts on paper so that your brain thinks, right, that thought's on paper, I don't need to think it anymore. So very quickly, by writing your thoughts on paper, you stop overthinking, which has a whole host of benefits, from feeling calmer, to be able to connect with people more, to having the right things to say, to be able to work deeper. All of these benefits come when you start documenting your thoughts, and instead of letting them rush around your mind like a whirlwind, you start dissecting, sorting out your thoughts until you've got a logical, coherent mind. And looking back a year ago, my mind was chaos. It was all over the place. Everything, every external event would get me emotional. If something bad happened, I'd feel sad for long periods of time. Now it feels more so that my brain is in a logical, coherent manner. It's like the difference between a computer that's old and it's got junk stored in it, compared to a brand new computer where everything's clean, everything's organized, you know where everything is, and you can go to it very quickly, and if anything bad happens, you know exactly what you need to do to get over it. That is the best metaphor that I've ever come up with on the spot, and I'm very proud of myself for thinking that. But it's really true. By journaling, you'll stop overthinking. The next benefit is that you'll heal your brain. As humans, our mind is like a garden, and different things grow in there. Sometimes you get beautiful trees that produce fruits, and it's the mind, the thoughts that you have and the emotions you feel that lead to a very good life. But often, if we don't take care of that garden, what starts to happen is weeds start to grow. A teacher tells you you're not good enough. A friend laughs at your nose. You get broken up with. You get rejected. And all of these weeds start to grow, and they start to overcrowd the beautiful thoughts that you were born with. What journaling does is it helps you dissect those thoughts, identify the weeds, identify the bad thoughts and emotions and feelings that you're having on a day-to-day basis, and then it gives you the tools needed to go weeding, where you dig deep and you simply flick these different thought problems that are going on in your mind out. Instead of just ignoring the problems, pushing it away to a deep part of your brain where you just ignore it, and one day it's going to come up and absolutely explode like a can that's getting more and more pressure within it. One day it's going to explode, you're going to have a freak out, you're going to flip at someone, you're going to punch something, or you're just going to have a mental breakdown. What journaling does is it lets you constantly open up that can, letting energy out, releasing gas, and just letting it go into the air, because you're doing what's necessary to maintain your brain and keep it healthy. Instead of letting your brain go by itself, grow by itself, completely unmonitored. Journaling lets you tap into that brain and dissect exactly what's going on, and if you realize that over the past year there's been more weeds growing than before, then it gives you the tools needed to solve that and get rid of those weeds. Ask yourself this question: do you feel more mentally stable today than you do a year ago? If the answer is no, you've got serious work to do, because that shows the trajectory you're on. And the bad thing is the trajectory isn't just linear like this. It goes down in a steepward fashion, which means if you're going downhill now, next year your mental stability is going to be even worse. But what that means that with journaling and you start to fix that, it goes on a steep upward trajectory where once you start dealing with the things that are going on in your mind, instead of pushing them away, you end up with a mind that's going to go like this, where you get more energy, you feel more fulfilled, you feel more happier, just like this. The fourth benefit is that you're just more competitive. You've got an edge over your competitors, which means that if you do the same amount of work as them, whether you want to be an entrepreneur or you're a student or just in the workplace, by journaling you're going to get an edge on all of them. By doing the same amount of work, you'll end up getting more done and you'll end up beating them. Why? It's very simple, because you're able to create new innovative solutions to problems that are in the business or your job or the work that you're in or your career or whatever the case may be. The reason for this is simple. Our brain is emotional. It's not designed to come up with strategic solutions to complex problems. Our brain reacts to things and it thinks, it's kind of like a toddler, it's kind of like an animal. You see something, you respond to it, you carry out the habit you're in. We're very default. The environment creates cues for us and we go about those cues with habits. We do the same things and we come up with the same solutions to the same problems we're having. That's why nothing really gets solved in our life. If you're unfit, you're probably unfit a year ago, and the problems we have compile and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. What journaling does is it allows you to pinpoint and identify that specific solution as if the problem's here and you're getting a magnifying glass and you're just looking at the problem, making it crystal clear. And once you can crystal clear see the problem and dissect it and think strategically, how can I solve this singular problem? Your brain will come up with new ideas, ideas you've never thought of before. Instead of relying on our brain to come up with solutions itself, growth journaling allows you to pinpoint the problem, dissect it and look at it so clearly that you're able to see cracks in it and you're able to see the solution to the problem with a little bit of thought and a little bit of journaling. By journaling, you're coming up with new strategic ideas because you're able to have the thoughts that are going on in your brain, you write them all down, and then once that's all written down, you've written down all the thoughts that are going on in your brain, the only option your brain has is to come up with new thoughts, because you're not just going to keep writing down the same thing. Say you've got a thought loop that's going on in your head. This thought causes this thought, which causes this thought, which causes this thought. When you write it down and you recognize that's a thought loop, you're then not going to write down the first thought again. We're not going to do that, because otherwise we'd just be writing the same thing down again and again and again. What journaling does is it allows you to come up with a new thought, a thought you've never thought of before, which is usually the solution to the problem. How many times have you heard people quitting right before they get to success? The reason is because they let their mind go in these loops that doesn't help them make any progress. By journaling, you're doing what it takes in order to create that new thought that takes you from very close to success straight to success. It's almost magical and it pretty much works every single time. The next benefit is self-awareness. Like I've said so many times before in this video, our brains go on these thought loops, and unless we look at them, we don't recognize what they actually are. So by journaling and writing down these thought loops, analyzing what's going on in your brain, analyzing what you're feeling, analyzing the decisions you make on a day-to-day basis, you're able to gain more self-awareness. You're able to identify why you felt a certain way or why you took a certain action. And the more you start to get self-awareness, understanding why you do certain things, then you're able to come up with a solution to change your behavior to get towards where you want to be. It's very simple. If you want to get from point A to point B, say we're in Paris and we want to get to the Eiffel Tower, we've got no idea where we are though, then we don't know whether to head north, south, east or west. If you don't know exactly where you are now, you don't know what you need to do in order to get towards where you want to be. So by journaling and dissecting all of these different things, you increase your self-awareness. It's a very practical method to increasing that self-awareness, which will help you recognize what you need to change and what you're doing well in order to get towards where you want to be. And as well as self-awareness, as well as getting to know yourself, you start to see the world a little bit more clearly. The more and more you journal, the more you start to notice patterns of things that go on outside of you. It's kind of like people go about their day-to-day life and they're blind. But when you start to journal, the blinders get lifted off and you start to notice patterns, things connected between different areas. And it's when these philosophical concepts that you hear about, like karma, that's when you start to notice connections between things. Whereas most people don't make connections, you start to identify cause and effect between different things that go on in the world around you. And when you identify those principles that are deep rooted in the world that we live in, you can start to use and abuse those principles to get towards where you want to be. Shouldn't have said the word abuse there, but you get to use these principles and harness them in your tool belt. Instead of living in a world where you don't know what's going on and everything seems to happen to you, you're able to harness the tools that the universe has given you to manufacture a life that you're proud of. It's deep, it's incredibly powerful when you get to use these things, and the best method I've found to start to see the world how it actually is by dissecting different events, dissecting my thoughts, dissecting different things that are going on around me, and trying to identify cause and effect, where you do one thing and a result happens. And when you get that cause and effect, the world is your oyster. And just to be completely clear there, I by no means know all of the solutions to everything. All I've done is I've noticed a trend, a difference from where I was 2 years ago when I didn't journal compared to where I am now, and I've noticed the trend. I'm now extrapolating by saying if I continue on this path, that is where I'm going to end up being. And that applies to every single concept I talk about in this video. By no means am I trying to sound like a prophet or anything like that. I'm just noticing the differences that I've found in my own brain and started to realize if I keep doing this, then I'm going to get more of that effect. All in all, growth journaling is an incredible thing that everyone should do. And before I share with you a resource that you can use to learn how to growth journal, I'd ask you, and just an ask, you don't have to do it, but I'd really appreciate it if you could like this video. It lets me know that you want me to make more of this style of content, and it also helps with the YouTube algorithm so that more people can find my channel and more people can hopefully benefit from this kind of content. And also, if you enjoy this kind of content and you want to learn more about how to improve your life on a day-to-day basis, turning self-development into a science, then click the subscribe button and join the family. Finally, if you want to learn maybe 3 out of the 20 or so different techniques that I use in my growth journaling belt, a free video is going to pop up on screen. You can go ahead and watch that video, and it shares a little bit of an insight onto some of the growth journaling exercises I decide to do. It's completely free. I'd highly recommend you go and watch that video, because now you've got the why. This video reveals with you the how. Go ahead and click that link.